Well, it's Sunday morning and here I am at the doors of one of our churches and locked. Nobody going in. That's the same in most of our buildings at the moment. But that doesn't mean that the church has stopped gathering, and it doesn't mean that the church has stopped worshipping. In my case, all I need to do is turn around, cross the road, enter my lounge and sit in front of the television. Or perhaps even here in my study at my computer. In fact, on a Sunday, it's not unheard of in this household that my wife will be downstairs in front of the telly, joining worship. I'll be taking part in a Zoom service up here in the study, and my daughter in another room will be engaging in a live stream service from her church. We may even hear singing coming through the walls from next door at whatever worship they're engaging in. That's just a way quickly of showing the diversity and imagination of the churches over the last year. We're going to hear from around the area as to how people are actually doing that. And we're going to start with James here in Lillington.
We pragmatically chose to go with YouTube Live as a means of communicating with our congregations, and we set up WhatsApp groups, and then we could send out links to the service through those WhatsApp groups or through email and invite people to become a part of the service in that way. We also recorded the services onto both CD and DVD for distribution to those who were not online. So we have about 14 people that receive the service in that way. One of the things I've been passionate about keeping and cherishing and valuing has been the gifts and the talents of the whole people of God, the laos of God. And so what we haven't done is, quite deliberately, we haven't gone with pre-recorded pieces of music from elsewhere. We haven't gone with the Hillsong worship videos and things like that. We have tried to encourage members of our own congregations to film themselves and to participate in worship. And we found all manner of gifts that people have come out of the woodwork as they've said, yeah, actually, I play the violin. I don't mind making a recording, or actually, I would never have done this in a million years, but I could sing and play the guitar for church one Sunday. And so we've got a wonderful celebration of all of our congregation's gifts and talents. We've had different readers each week, and we've had different people offering call to worship, blessing, prayers. And it's been wonderful to see the enthusiasm of God's people for worshipping in this way.
Now, Alan, you chose Zoom for worship. So why did you choose Zoom?
The two priorities for me was, one was a setup which allowed us to have live worship rather than something which we recorded and then broadcast. But also it needed to be able to have access by phone as well as computer. Now, with a Zoom paid account, you were able to get a phone access, and about half of our people connect over phones and half connect using computers with the video. But I thought it was really important with Zoom that we could have a sense of it being live worship together. I mean, it evolved fairly rapidly over the first couple of months. Initially, it was just, let's get people together. We can pray together. We can read the Bible together, maybe listen to something. And then I think the second week, we put in adding some music. Everyone's microphones turned off, so you can sing to your heart's content at home. There's no embarrassment by the quality of your own voice. Trying to get people involved that way, I think it's been really good. It's produced a good feel of having corporate worship.
Yeah.
It's one of those things for me. I've always found recordings of worship to lack that little extra of knowing that you're praying at the same time as everyone else.
So it's more a sense of involvement and togetherness as opposed to we're going to watch church right now.
Yeah.
But Zoom is limited in that it is a sort of closed shop unless people get the invitation to come in.
It is, yes.
So how have you encouraged members to invite others to join you?
To do it by personal invitation rather than by putting something out on the web and saying, although we have actually I think on each of the church websites, and in effect there is a notice there saying, if you'd like to join us on Sunday, email the minister and he'll send you the link.
Now, Yvonne, I know you do Zoom services, but it's not about that I want to talk about. It's how you reach out to people who haven't got the technology. So how do you do that?
Well, we realised fairly early on that quite a few of the members of the congregations in both churches might not be able to join on Zoom or on YouTube. And we wanted to find a way of reaching out to those. We had some people with sight difficulties. So as a church at West Orchard, we decided that we would investigate some very easy CD players, because when the eldership started looking around at the CDs players that they had that they could loan out, shall we say, they were either huge or had a lot of fiddly bits. We found some fairly cheap and extremely simple CD players. So we went out and bought 8 of them. And we produced CDs for as many people as wanted them. And we also looked at whether they would want the URC daily worship as well. So every week we record the URC daily worship as well as the White Road West Orchard Sunday worship. So they get little envelopes every week with their CDs. Now, not everybody wanted to listen. Some people just wanted to read. So along with that, we produce written copies, which are, again, delivered every week. A lot more gets sent out by email, etc. And what we've discovered is that they're not just staying in one place, either the written copies or the CDs. They're being, once they've been listened to or read, they're being handed around to neighbours, which is very good.
Very good.
I'm guessing not everybody connects, but I don't know. We don't know what's going on out there. Some people might just be sitting watching songs of praise on a Sunday afternoon, and that's fine.
But your philosophy has been to use every medium possible, so that everyone, one way or another, can engage in the weekly worship. Yeah.
If we're missing anybody, we would love to know how we're missing them or how we can make connections. I think that's been the hardest thing, is working out where people are, and if they want to continue worshipping with us, how to facilitate it. So any other ideas or any other people that want to join in, we'd be delighted to hear from them.
Right, Robert, while you use Zoom for your afternoon services, your main service in the morning, you use a different method that enables you to reach those who can't use this technology.
That's right. What we wanted to do was to find a system that people who didn't have the technology or were afraid to use it, or in fact had got poor signal strength, we could do something. And we explored the system. We found a telephone conference calling system, which we just use an ordinary telephone. And I have a special dialing code, which everybody wants to dial in. It has, and we print that out for people. I have a PIN code, which makes me what's called the moderator, and everybody else dials in another code, and they have access. And then we can hold the whole service through this. So we play music through it as well. And at its peak, we had almost 100 people receiving the telephone service. And even when we got back to having this service in the church, we carried on in parallel with the telephone there, using a mobile phone, And so we were having about 40 people at the maximum when we weren't shut down in the church, and about the same online, and they're spread all over the country. We had people from Matlock, from Sheffield, even one week we had somebody from France.
Oh, well, I think it's amazing. You wouldn't know that people found the telephone so accessible as an act of worship. But what have you learned from this?
Well, two things. First of all, I'm ashamed that I never thought of it before this lockdown happened, because a number of the folk at Rugby and Brinklow are housebound anyway and couldn't get to church anymore, and they were receiving nothing, whereas now they feel they're part of the service. And people do say it's like you're coming into our house for a service. So I'm ashamed that I didn't think of it, but anyway, it's done now, and I've committed to us continuing to use this service every Sunday morning, even when the church is reopened again, so that we can still reach out to those people. And also, of course, we reach out to people, as I say, in Sheffield and Matlock, who are never going to come all the way down to Rugby for a service.
Can I ask you about another exploration in worship at Christmas? Many of us found we couldn't have our carol services. You found a way of doing yours, didn't you?
Yeah, we were pretty determined to try and socially distance, but have some sort of carol service. So we decided, as we got Rugby URC has got the largest church car park in Rugby. It might even be in the world, I don't know. So we thought, well, why can't we hold the service outside? And effectively, that's what we did. Our organist actually played an electronic organ in the porchway to protect him from the weather. But everybody else was socially distanced outside. Obviously, if they had bubbles of their own, then they could gather together. And that was very successful. Indeed, we got people from next door coming into coming into the car park to listen to it. And also, we had at least two families who were just walking along the pavement who just had to stop and call in. We intend to do that every year now, whether or not we're locked down.
Wow, that's quite a journey through different means and different ways of worshipping God. Together, gathered, online, on the phone, or just through people delivering sheets with prayers on during the week. Raises lots of questions about worship, what it is, what's important, and how we can develop our worship into the future. Over to you now.